People think biasing someone is random, like you just saw a performance one day and went, yep, him. But attachment styles are sneaky little architects. They build attraction from old wounds, unmet needs, emotional habits, childhood survival tactics. Half the time, your bias isn't just your favorite member, he's your nervous system wearing tight leather pants. So, if these are your biases, your attachment style may already be exposing you. Hongjoong, anxious, preoccupied. If the captain is your bias, you probably feel everything at maximum volume, not externally. Internally, your mind is constantly scanning for emotional shifts. A delayed text, a weird tone, somebody acting slightly off. You notice changes immediately and then spend hours trying to decode them like your brain works for the FBI of emotional instability. You crave reassurance, but the second you need it too much, you feel embarrassed for being too needy. So now you're trapped in this exhausting cycle where you want closeness desperately while also criticizing yourself for wanting it. You probably attach to potential more than reality, too. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You see who people could be. You hold onto emotional breadcrumbs. You replay tiny moments because they meant something to you, even if they meant nothing to the other person. And your heart, your big, beautiful heart, it's loyal to a dangerous degree. What the fuck? What the fuck? Once somebody matters to you emotionally, they stay in your system for a long time. Longer than you admit publicly. You revisit old conversations, old playlists, old versions of people. Your attachment doesn't disappear cleanly, it echoes. The painful part of you likely learned somewhere along the line that affection can disappear unexpectedly. So now your nervous system is constantly trying to prevent abandonment before it happens. I'm so sorry. You overgive, over explain, overanalyze, overcare, because part of you believes if I become important enough, they won't leave. But anxious attachment has a cruel sense of humor. The more you fear losing connection, the harder it becomes to feel secure inside it. And beneath all that overthinking is somebody who just wants to feel emotionally chosen without having to earn it first. All right, got a reflection for you. I know I just dragged you for the fucking filth, but think about this, okay? When someone pulls away slightly, do you miss them or do you panic because it activates your fear of being abandoned? Seonghwa, fearful, avoidant, and Seonghwa is my bias, so I'm about to drag myself for the filth. So Seonghwa is your bias, sames, twinsies. Your attachment style probably feels like wanting intimacy while simultaneously fearing it. Ooh, you and I have problems. We really need to expose ourselves more. Not like that. Not like that. Don't do that. You crave emotional closeness deeply, but once it starts becoming real, you panic. You are likely someone who longs to be understood completely, yet struggles letting people access the real version of you. So instead, you reveal yourself in carefully edited pieces, enough to feel connected, never enough to feel fully vulnerable. People probably see you as composed, emotionally mature, put together. Meanwhile, your inner world looks like shattered glass trying to organize itself into stained windows. Before anybody notices the cracks, don't do crack. You may have grown up learning that affection could become unpredictable. Safe one minute, painful the next. So now your nervous system associates closeness with danger and comfort simultaneously. So complicated. Which means relationships become emotionally confusing. You want reassurance, but too much closeness feels suffocating. You want independence, but distance feels like rejection, so you fluctuate. One moment you want somebody to hold you emotionally, the next moment you emotionally retreat because vulnerability suddenly feels unbearable. And the worst part, grab a tissue. You often understand other people's emotions better than your own. You're highly observant, hyper aware, sensitive to energy changes, but instead of directly expressing hurt, you internalize it quietly until it turns into emotional exhaustion. Do you sometimes feel mad tired from those things? Same. I told you we are twins. There's also a strong chance You've mastered appearing fine while actively falling apart internally because being visibly emotional feels unsafe to you. Your attachment style says, if I never fully depend on anyone, they can never fully destroy me. But isolation has consequences too, because sometimes you push people away, the exact thing you desperately wanted to keep. And now I have a question for you, fellow Shine Star. Just drop your answer down below. Are you protecting yourself from pain or protecting yourself from being truly seen? Now we're moving on to the man who causes me so many problems. Yunho, secure attachment. You didn't think he was going to be anything else. I mean, the fuck. So, Yunho is your bias. He is a part of my double bias line, him and Seonghwa. Anyway, you may actually crave emotional stability more than emotional intensity. And honestly, that says a lot about you. You are probably somebody who values consistency, honesty, and emotional safety over games or unpredictability. You don't romanticize chaos the same way other people do. In fact, emotional confusion probably exhausts you. You like people who feel grounding, people who text back because they want to, people who communicate clearly, people who don't make affection feel like a puzzle game designed for a sleep-deprived philosopher. You sound very philosophical, by the way. You likely grew into someone emotionally dependable too. Friends trust you easily. People vent to you naturally. There's something emotionally safe about your presence that makes others lower their guard without realizing it. But secure attachment doesn't mean you never get hurt. It just means you don't build your identity around emotional instability. You probably understand that healthy affection is supposed to feel calm sometimes. Not every relationship needs to feel like emotional parkour over flaming rooftops. Do you remember parkour? So weird, so dangerous. And because of that, you may unintentionally intimidate emotionally unavailable people. Ooh, all right, here's something you can do. All right, if you're like, oh, Chris, like, what are you talking about? Listen to your bias and your record just to get like a full idea of how you work as far as attachment styles are concerned. And remember, I'm not a doctor or any of those things. I'm just a lady on the internet who reads things, and I decide, hey, I want to drag other ATINYs, and that's what I'm gonna do. Back to the script. Your honesty forces clarity. Your consistency exposes inconsistency. You're also likely very patient with people you care about. But once trust is broken repeatedly, something in you quietly shuts the door. Not dramatically, not loudly, just permanently. Your attachment style says, I deserve relationships that feel safe, mutual, and emotionally honest. And that mindset changes everything because secure people don't chase breadcrumbs. They look for reciprocity. And that means you're looking for like equal give and take. Reflection question for you mother flippers. Have you mistaken emotional chaos for passion before? Or are you finally learning that peace can be exciting too? Now, technically, Seonghwa is my bias and Yunho is my wrecker. And all this tracks, just saying. Now we go from someone who's mad secure to someone who's just a little bit avoidant. And remember, we go in age order, so there's that. Yeosang, avoidant, dismissive. If Yeosang is your mother flippant bias, there's a strong chance you survive emotionally by needing nobody, or at least pretending you don't. You value independence heavily, maybe too heavily. You're probably the type to process emotions alone first, alone second, and somehow still alone third, before even considering opening up to another person. And honestly, you may not even realize how emotionally guarded you are because self-containment feels normal to you now. You tell yourself, I'll handle it myself. It's not a big deal. I don't need reassurance. Meanwhile, your emotions are locked in a vault, somewhere 6 floors underground, guarded by emotional security lasers. Remember in One Piece when they went through the lasers and they were like the worst at that? I love One Piece. Do you watch One Piece? Let me know. All right, let's go. You likely dislike feeling emotionally dependent on people because dependency feels dangerous. Vulnerability feels unpredictable, so instead of leaning into connection, you retreat into self-sufficiency. The problem is, people can only comfort the version of you they're allowed to see, and you hide a lot. You may also struggle expressing needs directly, not because you don't have them, but because depending on others feels uncomfortable. So instead of asking for support, you distance yourself emotionally and convince yourself you're better off alone. But humans aren't machines. Even the independent ones ache for closeness sometimes. I bet you're aching for Yeosang. I'm just saying. You probably also withdraw when overwhelmed. Not because you stop caring, but because emotions become easier to manage in solitude than in real-time interaction. And if somebody pressures you emotionally, you retreat even faster. Your attachment style says, if I rely on myself completely, nobody can disappoint me. But emotional self-protection can quietly become emotional loneliness if you're not careful. Because eventually you stop asking whether people are safe enough to trust and start assuming distance is safer by default. Reflection question for you. Do you genuinely enjoy isolation, or have you simply become more comfortable with distance than vulnerability? Now we're moving on to the maknaes. San, anxious avoidant, chaos loop. Che-san. Che-san, baby. If San is your bias, your attachment style probably feels like emotional whiplash. You crave closeness intensely, but the second you feel vulnerable enough to get hurt, you panic internally. So your relationships can become this exhausting push and pull cycle. Please stay close to me. Wait, not that close. Why are you distant? Why are you perceiving me so much? Your nervous system is constantly trying to solve emotional danger while simultaneously craving emotional fusion. You likely mistake intensity for connection too. Calmness can feel suspicious to you if something feels stable. Part of your brain starts waiting for the hidden disaster scene to arrive later. Because chaos feels familiar, predictable even. You may also become hyper attached emotionally very quickly. Somebody gives you consistency, attention, warmth, and suddenly your brain starts building emotional architecture around them. Overnight, like a raccoon. Yeah, like a raccoon with access to caffeine and blueprints. Do you like caffeine? Listen, they discontinued the blueberry Red Bull, and I was like, why did you do that? That's my favorite. Never mind, I'm just going off on a tangent. Back to the script. But then fear enters. Fear of rejection, fear of being too much, fear of abandonment, fear of losing control emotionally. So you pull away, you pull out before they can. And the painful thing is, you often confuse self-protection with self-sabotage. You want somebody to stay through your intensity while secretly worrying your emotions are impossible to hold long term. Reflection question for all of my puddings. Do you actually fear being abandoned? Or do you fear somebody seeing how deeply you attach? Now, you know who is next. Come on, say it. The time is now. Fix on! Song, Mingi, disorganized, fearful, avoidant. If Mingi is your bias, your attachment style probably feels like having two different people living inside your chest, arguing over the controls. One side of you craves affection deeply. The other side distrusts it immediately. Fix on! You want intimacy, but intimacy also makes you feel exposed. No comment. Your relationships become emotionally confusing because your heart and nervous system are rarely agreeing on the same thing at the same damn time. You attach quickly, emotionally, then suddenly become overwhelmed by the reality of being emotionally perceived. And when that happens, you retreat into yourself hard. Not because you stopped caring, usually because you care too much. You likely overthink people's intentions constantly too. Your brain reads between lines that may not even exist. Small changes in energy feel enormous. You already know. Come on, he a big boy. To you because your nervous system is always trying to predict emotional danger before it happens. And humor, that's probably one of your biggest coping mechanisms. You make people laugh, you become entertaining, chaotic, easygoing. We've seen this man on stage. We've seen this man on stage. Meanwhile, there's an entire emotional storm system hidden underneath the performance. You may also struggle trusting stability fully. If somebody treats you well consistently, part of you relaxes while another part quietly waits for the moment it changes. Because somewhere in your emotional history, closeness and unpredictability got tangled together. Your attachment style says, I want love desperately, but all right, let me do his voice real quick. Hold on. I want love desperately, but I don't fully trust what happens after I receive it. Fix on! In my mind, he just always says fix on. All right, let me ask you this question really quick. When people get close to you, do you feel comfort first or danger first? The time is now. Answer! Wooyoung. I know I just skipped right into him. Wooyoung, anxious, preoccupied. Wooyoung. That's your bias, all right? That's your man, all right? So, connection is probably the center of your emotional universe. You attach through attention. I mean, come on. Through energy, through feeling emotionally chosen. You're likely very expressive, too. You tease people you like. You create emotional closeness quickly. You make people feel wanted naturally because affection feels safest to you when it's visible and active. But anxious attachment has layers people don't always see because underneath your warmth is somebody deeply sensitive to emotional inconsistency. You notice changes immediately. Shorter replies, different tone, less enthusiasm, and even if you act fine outwardly, internally, your brain starts trying to figure out what changed and whether it's your fault. You probably fear becoming emotionally forgettable too. I know you're like, Chris, damn, let me get it. I'm sorry. You already know what to expect on this channel. So you overcompensate sometimes. Give me your hand. Being funnier, more available, more understanding, more emotionally present. You want to let go of my hand. That's fine. Because part of you believes if I stay important enough emotionally, they'll keep choosing me, right? They'll keep choosing me, right? You also tend to romanticize emotional closeness heavily. Shared moments mean a lot to you. Eye contact means a lot to you. Emotional attention feels almost addictive because it temporarily quiets the fear of abandonment underneath. But the difficult thing about anxious attachment is this. You can receive affection and still feel uncertain inside it. Because reassurance helps temporarily, but fear always asks for more. Reflection question for you. Here's a tissue. Do you want connection or constant proof that the connection is still there? Now we are moving on to the maknae. You already know, like the maknae, like the youngest member of the group. Jongho, avoidant. If Jongho is your bias, that's why I clicked on this, your attachment style probably survives through emotional control. You value self-sufficiency heavily, maybe because relying on people emotionally has, disappointed you before. Maybe because vulnerability once felt unsafe. Either way, you learned very early that depending on yourself feels more reliable than depending on others. So now you minimize your needs automatically. You tell yourself, I'm okay, it's fine, I'll deal with it. I'll deal with it myself. Even when you're carrying emotional weight alone, that would crush other people openly. You likely dislike feeling emotionally exposed to. Do not expose yourself. Don't do it. Don't do it. Not because you don't have deep emotions, but because emotions feel private to you, personal, something to process internally before sharing outwardly. Yeah, I know. And honestly, you may not even realize how emotionally unavailable you can appear sometimes. I saw it in your diary. Because in your mind, caring quietly still counts as caring deeply. You show affection through consistency, protection, reliability, practical support, but verbal vulnerability, emotional dependency, needing reassurance openly, that probably feels uncomfortable. You may also withdraw when overwhelmed instead of reaching for support. Solitude feels regulating to you, predictable, safe. But the danger of avoidant attachment is this: you become so skilled at needing nobody that eventually people stop realizing you need care too. And beneath all that composure is often somebody secretly wondering, if I let people fully in, would they still stay? Reflection question, and I'm being so serious right now. Are you emotionally independent or simply emotionally accustomed to being alone? Oh, I dragged you for the filth and I feel so powerful and strong right now. If you're like Chris, I feel like something's missing from me. That's because you didn't watch your bias and your record. That's why. That makes a lot of sense. Again, Seonghwa is my bias and Yunho is my record. I'm like avoidant, secure, attached, or whatever. Like, what are you gonna do? That seems like super crazy, like to be those things. But I want people to see me as like being very competent in all of the things. But also, never mind. We're not talking about me anyway. So maybe your bias was never random. Maybe your nervous system recognized something before your mind did, because attachment styles don't just shape relationships, they shape attraction, comfort, fantasy. In your fantasy, safety, longing. They know what you're into and they know what you like. Sometimes your bias reflects the way you love. Sometimes they reflect the way you protect yourself from love. And sometimes that ain't what you like. They reflect the exact emotional wound you've been trying to survive quietly this entire time. You're going through a lot. Oh my gosh, I dragged you so hard. Oh, I feel so powerful right now. So drop down your bias and your wrecker and just be like, Chris, what the fuck? Why would you do this to me, girl? And I love reading all of your comments. I love seeing like the community of people below. And I want to heart your comment. I really, 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 really do. All right, I need to go. Oh, there's a video for you. It's perfect. It's perfect. All right, I'll see you in that video. Okay,